Are you still drawing faces that resemble a chicken nugget with a Roblox face? Luckily, you were a smart cookie and clicked on this video. Today, I have 3 main parts to this facial features method, and one has nothing to do with drawing facial features, because drawing good-looking faces comes before you even think about drawing the eyes. So, if you want to learn how to draw faces, listen to every step of this tutorial to be able to confidently draw faces and never draw faces like this again. The first step is the most overlooked part of drawing faces. It's the backbone of natural expressions and believable faces. It's a simple thing that often differentiates between pro and beginner, at least in terms of drawing heads and faces. Beginners just see where the eyes, mouth and nose go and guess about everything interacting with each other. They just kind of place it on there. This results in faces that look flat or have features stamped on, making them very boring and unprofessional. On the other hand, professionals understand the inner workings of the human head and how that affects the facial features appearance. This makes the head believable, natural, and realistic. But does not just apply to realism, but also to anime, comic art, and game art. If you look at this face, you can see that the head has a bit of structure, but the understanding of the structure is lost. But if we look at a later drawing I did, there is a huge difference in that same understanding. A good structure will make your face believable, but an understanding of the structure will make it human. So, the first thing you need to do before adding all the intricate details of the eyes and mouth is to give the head a real structure beyond the simple mannequin shape. The way that I do this is by using a Loomis head. Then, the first thing I do is to use the eye line to make a dent below that goes in and then out. If you did this on a profile shot, it would be cutting a slice of pizza from the head. Just not to the center, more like this. I know that no one cuts a pizza like this, but the least I could do was add a funny bit here. I'm sorry, that last part was a bit cheesy. Okay, just forget I ever said that. Anyway, after adding the correct structure to the head, beginners, like me, there's one thing that we all neglect. We try to draw the features as we see them, but not how they are. When beginners try to draw from reference, they are often taught observation is the most valuable skill to learn art. Because it is. But there's still a problem here. Most beginners don't understand what this actually means. It's not just about seeing life at face value, but taking in the relations between everything in a scenario being captured. That's why you want to focus on building your visual library to be able to draw faces better. If you still think, learning how eyes interact with faces and how mouths move the rest of the face feels like I'm studying anatomy all over again, doesn't sound like it's worth it. You need to realize the difference between basic and advanced facial expressions is this. If you want to stay a beginner, that's okay. But if you're serious about improvement, then this is a worthwhile endeavor. So what makes a good facial feature and how do you learn this? Okay. Well, let's start by simplifying the head. Now we can see the major components of the head. This makes it much easier to visualize the features. This is a front view for super simplicity purposes. For now, the placements of the features are fairly standard. Let's take the most standard person alive, generic stockman from hit show Game Theory. However, before I explain exactly how to draw the features, I need to explain their placements. Now, I could be all in depth about this and explain each individual feature and talk about, oh, this one is 2 centimeters from this, blah blah blah. That's not really needed. I think it makes more sense to explain this using the rule of thirds, a much simpler way of understanding this. The head can be vertically split into thirds from the hairline down, with the forehead as the prominent feature of the top third, the nose and ears as the middle third, and the jaw in the bottom third. And more specifically, the ears and nose are basically in a rule of thirds relation as well. The ears are on the outside and the nose sits between them. One final thing is that the center of the eyes line up vertically with the tip of the mouth. Now that we have placed every part of the face, we can try to draw them. I'll start by explaining the eyes, as they are arguably the most important but yet least understood parts of the face, only to the nose probably. The eye can be split into 3 defining parts: the ball, lid, and lashes. I won't teach the iris because in most cases you won't need to spend much time on this, and I don't really have time to explain how to do an iris in a 10-minute YouTube video. Right now we need to focus on the construction of the eye. You gotta walk before you can run. First we have the ball. The ball can rotate in any direction with a limited range. The lid covers usually about 2/3 of this ball. You can draw the lids with 3 lines on the top and 2 on the bottom like this. Then the lashes are the ones with the most freedom and really only apply to most female characters. The simplest way is by using a tapered triangle shape on the opposing line to the tear duct, like this. Something to think about too is the eyebrows, which are usually quite underdeveloped among beginners, even though it's such a vital part of showing emotion. The most important thing I can tell you about this is that the eyebrow originates from the nose bridge in sort of a T-junction shape. If the character is mad, the outer regions rise and the insides get crinkled. If they are sad, the outside falls. Highly simplified, I recommend you study that in your own time. Next, I'll explain the mouth. This part does a lot of the emotional work of the character. The mouth is probably the simplest facial feature and yet has a lot of subtle complexities to it. The basics are that the mouth is 3 lines on top, 1 on the bottom. The lips, similarly to the divot under the eyeline, go in and out. That's why the top lip is usually in shadow because it faces down while the bottom faces up and hits the light. The lips are also very thick unless we're talking about men. Then they almost look like they're drawn onto their faces. Get it? Because I drew it. The bottom lip is larger than the top and doesn't always start from the end of the mouth, but sometimes more inward. We're in the home stretch, folks. Now, let's talk about noses. This is very hard for anime, especially female characters. Okay, I'll try and simplify this just a little bit. Okay, that should be good. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. If you want, you can watch over that segment again to truly understand what I just did. Now for the ears. No, of course, I'm only joking. I'll explain how to draw noses. Now, the nose is probably the hardest one to actually explain and requires the most practice. The basic structure is that there's 3 circles, 1 big one and 2 extruding smaller ones to the side. Now you need to draw 1 line on either side of the nose bridge for front views, but if it's anything other than that, then it needs to be on the furthest side of the nose bridge. This creates a triangle shape from the pointy bit of the nose to your head, around the eye line. Now we have a basic nose shape. All you have to do to complete this is connect the small circles with the big one by wrapping the bottom of the big one with the smaller ones to make nostrils. You may not directly see this connection on the further side because the tip of the nose is like further out than the small ones, so it'll like overlap. Now for the ears. They're very simple because they're usually covered by hair, and if they're not, it's practically a square, a rounded square, and now you just have to draw 2-3 shapes, like so, for a simple ear. Here is what they all look drawn on our generic Stockman. It's not necessarily a replica, but rather more of a guide for what I've taught you today. I didn't want to spend too long on this. So now you know how to draw faces, but maybe you don't know how to keep practicing them every day. Well, PewDiePie already did the hard work for you. I made a video talking about his year-long journey and how it can help you draw every day. If you want to get even better as an artist, watch this video here.